And when you hear about things like these multiple orgasms that go on and on and on and on and on, I mean, who wouldn't want to taste that? That's a yummy morsel, but it's also a skill set.
I'm Amy.
I'm April.
Certified sex educators, sexperts of the year, and best-selling authors.
And we're on a mission to help you have more spicy, connected, and amazing shameless sex.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
We're so close, it's like we have our own language. We're making sex and relationships shameless.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to the Shameless Sex Podcast. This episode is all about sexual mastery for men, penis owners, people with cocks, balls, penises.
Sexual masturbation?
No, well, yes. Actually, we do talk about masturbation a smidge.
We do.
Smidge-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how to overcome erectile challenges.
Early
tips.
ejaculation stuff.
Yes. The tips for that they suggested were awesome.
Yeah.
Just like the tapping, I learned some things.
Scratching over
The
your
scratching,
heart.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Stay tuned for
Stay
this. I learned a lot from this, and we love Leah Piper and Willow Brown. They've been on our show before. They're from the Sex Reimagined Podcast and so many other aspects of their lives. Like, they're not just from that, but they're amazing podcasts that we've also guested on. So,
and it was fun because Leah was in person and Willow she lives down south in California, but Amy was on the same property that we have our studio on, but in an area because technology wise, but I could see her waving.
Yeah.
She waved at the end. I was like, hi.
I was in a different building through a window, like waving while recording.
The sound's great, but it was just a fun, we had never done that before.
I know. Yeah. We love, mixing it up a little bit. So, and they kind of, in certain ways, they remind me of us. Like
they do.
Yeah.
It was strange because I'm sitting on the same side of the couch where I usually sit next to you and I'm recording, and then I don't have the same skill set that we have doing co-hosts.
Yeah.
So I was like, muted it a couple times. I'm like, are you going to answer that question too? Because I don't want to go into the next question. I'm like, Amy and I have our signals.
Yeah, we do like the tapping on the leg.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, Amy, help. I need to go to the bathroom.
I'll tap her and she'll be like,
sorry, but stop tapping me. Yeah, don't tap me. I got distracted. That was fun though. I'm so stoked that they were on our show again. Yeah. And they're going to Greece.
I know.
Which we'll talk about on a retreat.
Yeah.
We were invited. I really want to make it happen.
I know.
I put it in our calendar.
October.
Goddess retreat in Greece.
Hello. All right. So also we have our own retreat coming up too.
Well, which is so fun.
Our fifth one.
Wow.
Yes, I know. Our fifth retreat. This one is September 11th through 14th, 2025. This is near Palm Springs once again. So 3 nights.
We've never done a September retreat though. We've done November. We've done April.
Sexy September.
We've done May. So I think September. Shameless Sextember.
It's perfect.
I know.
Yes. So y'all can go learn more. You go to shamelesssex.com. We are already sold. Wow, it's already like almost half full.
And it's not an orgy. It's not a sex party.
Nope.
It is a way to improve your relationships. It's for couples. We've definitely saved some marriages.
Yes.
We've been told. It's not us making this up.
And
the testimonials
in general,
are real. Yeah. Relationships and improving people. We had someone that was single. Her partner couldn't come to the last retreat.
Yeah.
So she came as a single but is married.
Yeah.
And it was incredible for her. She learned so many tools that she could take home to share with her partner. She was FaceTiming him a couple times. It was fun.
Yeah. And if you're single and you don't have a partner, this applies to you too. So go check it out, shamelesssex.com. Get in while you can because it will probably sell in about a month. So
we sold the first slot 30 minutes after it was launched.
I know. It's amazing.
A VIP spot. And there's only a couple of those. So get a while tap.
Yeah. Go get it. All right. Ready for a sex question?
I'm ready.
Okay. My husband, I don't know why I'm doing that voice. My husband and I have been together for 9 years. And believe it or not, we've never watched porn together. That's actually not that unusual.
No, it's not.
Yeah. That's quite common.
Very common.
Yeah. Okay. So 9 years, never watched porn. I'm not anti-porn, but I don't want to watch something with him that gives me an icky feeling after. Do you have any recommendations for porn for couples that isn't problematic, meaning problematic for women, sexuality, and relationships?
I had never watched porn with my partner. This is something that...
Yeah, you took a long time.
It took a long time, and it was still very uncomfortable when he initiated. He's like, why don't you want to watch porn with me? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like this private thing I do.
Yeah, it's like your secret thing that he knows about. So I guess it's not a secret, but it's your private time.
Yes, and Erica Lust is what helped me get out of out of that funk.
Yeah. And so Erica Lust is a person, but also has ericalust.com.
Right. She's a filmmaker and makes incredibly beautiful film that is considered porn, but it's editorial. It's so tastefully done. And we learned, she was on our show. Remember when she was on our show? It was so cool.
So episode 376,
so you
porn
do
and empowering gangbangs. Well, I actually wrote this down, but I do remember that she was on our show. And she was sharing a lot about how the scenes that we usually think are like demeaning to women, or like different aspects of femininity or relationships or couples or whatever about sexuality, can be still portrayed in a beautiful way where behind the scenes there's strong ethics. The performers are being treated ethically, fairly. Their rights matter. They're getting paid in a way that is like really, because I don't know if a lot of you know, a lot of porn that you see like at youporn.com or whatever,
totally,
they're not getting paid for that.
I was just telling you this before we started recording. I was having a conversation yesterday with some friends, and they're a couple, and they might not be, they're super sexual people. We talk about sex toys and sex.
Yeah.
I was talking about porn because of Erica Lust and how much I have enjoyed her work. And
so good.
And I was like, so do you know about ethical porn? Just randomly throwing that out there because they're like, what's the difference? And so education wise, like people that are a lot of like filmmakers don't pay very much to their actors. And if you don't know how much people, I mean, that's hard work.
And then it gets cut up and distributed on all these other platforms where they don't get money for that.
They don't.
And aside from that, also tasteful, hot, sexy, also somewhat educational, because a lot of the humans that are interacting in some, not all of them, but like in some of her films, are actually in real relationships too.
Right. Yes.
Speaking of couples, right? Like I would imagine couples want to watch something that is like, this is pretty real. Like it's an actual couple that is engaging with each other in a way that we can relate to.
So this couple, this is what I was telling, I was talking about the ethical porn. I told them about Erica Lust, Erica with a K. And so I got a text message from them on my way to the studio, and they loved it, and they said it was super hot, and they watched the morning sex. Because they're,
I think I watched that the other day.
Yeah. So, and she's from Alaska, and they spent a lot of time apart at long distance, and so she was like, that was super hot, the morning sex. You watched it too?
Yeah. So
I haven't seen it yet.
Personally, my everyday life, I like porn for my fantasy world. Like I have morning sex, but it's not my hottest sex. But something about the morning sex scene in Erica Lust's film was so hot. They're like waking up, like there's like the sun shining on their bodies. They're like slowly moving to each other, and then it leads to deep, hot, sexy intimacy that was real, and just I was super turned.
So I went to this threesome one, which I get to later. But
of course,
okay,
you did.
So I'll have to check out the morning sex one.
Yes.
Well, I feel like her films don't turn you on. They turn you on. They don't just turn you on.
Yes.
They don't only turn you on.
And
they give me inspiration. Mm-hmm. They help spark conversations.
I was like, wait, should I do? Is this some morning sex? Like, should I change the lighting? Like, open the blinds?
Well, they give you ideas for how to play. Yeah. So it's not just I'm getting turned on, I'm aroused, and I'm going to bang it out. But with your partner, it's hot. You feel good. It's not icky. Yeah. You don't have the ick factor.
I never feel icky watching Erica Lust porn ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we mentioned, I feel like we've talked about this on our show at some point about how porn, there's studies that come out and say that people that are in a coupleship, right? Is that a word?
Lovership, whatever. It's not a real word either, but yeah.
But if they watch porn together, they actually have better communication and they have more relationship satisfaction. And I love stats.
And that's as long as it's consensual, like both of you are agreeing to watch something. And I would imagine watching something that is ethical and portraying real sexuality would be very beneficial, which is ericalust.com.
Morning boner. So because Shameless Sex, not only we're so honored to be working with Erica Lust and to have her on our show, but they are giving our listeners 45% off.
That's huge.
And you can go to ericalust.com with it's Erica with a K, everyone, but everything else is how it sounds. And use coupon code couples45 and 45% off. Yeah. That's a deal.
Yeah.
So pay for your porn. Yeah. It's worth it. And it's not going to cost you very much money.
Yeah. And you'll get turned on. You'll be stoked.
And
everyone wins.
It'll also help you have conversations.
Yeah. Hey. Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, babe, can we do that later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're a no too, maybe not. Yeah. Or like, maybe, but my maybe.
You might be like, I'll never want to do that, babe, but maybe.
But I'm still turned on. Do you want to fuck or what?
You and I should watch some porn together.
I know.
Babe.
Yeah.
Are you into that? We used to.
Pirates back in the day.
Back in the day, pure
Yeah.
pleasure shop days. That was
Yeah.
Amy's criterion for me working there. She's like, you have to watch
No,
porn.
no. I'll get sued if you say it that way.
I'm joking. I totally had consented to watching it. And I would have porn parties at my house.
I was more like, would you like to?
I was like, duh. Give me all the DVDs.
You will not get fired for this.
This was before streaming.
Yes.
Okay. So
DVDs.
It was the DVDs.
Yeah.
They had to come all over them. We
Ooh.
rented them.
Ooh,
We never rented
We never rented either.
Hey, there was some sticky shit happening.
You're way off.
My boyfriend at the time might have been watching them when I wasn't home.
That was his.
Probably. Anyway, all right. Are you ready for the bio?
Yes, I am.
Leah Piper and Dr. Willow Brown are the visionaries behind the Sex Reimagined Podcast, where they expand minds and open hearts to the limitless possibilities of sexuality, spirituality, and relationships. With 40 years of combined expertise in sex and intimacy, these ambassadors of love are here to guide you on a journey of sacred sexuality, deep connection, and personal transformation. To learn more and to sign up for their 2025 October retreat in Greece, y'all, go to sexreimagined.com. And we have a coupon code. It's 10 shameless, and you can save some money if you want to sign up. Check out the show notes for more. All right, let's do this.
All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we are here with 3 screens on Zoom. But here's the thing: I am on the same property as April and Leah Piper, and then we have Dr. Willow Brown here in the Zoom ether webs or wherever she is. But I'm in the house and I'm separate from April. Anyways, so it's a fun game of 4 wonderful, amazing women that love to talk about sexuality, know a lot about sexuality, and have a lot to share with you. So Leah and Willow also have an amazing podcast called Sex Reimagined. You probably already heard a little bit about that in the intro and the bio, and they've been on our show before. We've been on their show. So blah, blah, blah. Let's dive in. We always start with the same prompts for all of our guests. And even though you two, Dr. Willow Brown, who's been on our show many times actually, and Leah has been on our show a couple times, you shared your story before, but can you please tell us and our listeners a little more about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick us off. So, gosh, I think I've always been a very sensual and intuitive girl, ever since I was a little girl, and went into some interesting arenas in my early days, one of which got me into some trouble. So when I was 19, I got into a scenario where I was roofied, date raped, and got pregnant from it. So it was a triple whammy. No bueno, but it was, I took that sand and I turned it into a pearl, and that's why I do what I do today. In a nutshell. So I've really found sexuality to be a potent medicine within our bodies that we can use to heal from traumas. We can use it to expand our consciousness. We can use it to increase our vitality, balance our hormones. So many layers of human abundance and expansion can happen through the power of Shakti and sexual energy. So it's been a real pleasure and treat to have had that experience and to have turned it into a pearl over these years. I've been teaching Taoist sexual practices for a couple decades now. And more recently, maybe in the past 7 or 8 years or so, I've been on the tantric path with Miss Leah Piper. She was my tantra teacher, and I'm a bit of a teacher connoisseur. I like the best teachers. And so when I first got to see Leah up on stage teaching next to Charles Muir, who is, the grandfather of tantra in the US, I just was like, I choose her. And then 3 years later, she chose me, and here we are. So we've been at our podcast business for 3 years running, and it's been such a wild ride, and we've had so much fun. We've had so many incredible conversations, and so we've learned so much. I mean, you learn so much when you're doing a podcast. And I've had the beautiful privilege of being on the Shameless Sex podcast since their very first year, which was 7 or 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Happy anniversary, Amy.
We forgot our anniversary.
We
It's
did.
June 1st. We forget every year.
Well, happy anniversary, ladies.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So glad to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Leah, you're next. We want to hear all about Leah.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Similar to Willow, right? You've got some childhood trauma in the mix of the whole sexual realm and coming of age and the confusion that creates. And I had a lot of religious conditioning, grew up as a Pentecostal Christian, and we were singing and dancing and falling on the floor and shaking it all about and feeling the Holy Spirit. And then at 10, they left that church and I got baptized into Catholicism, which was a very different model. And the messaging really that I got was that sex is dirty, sex is scary, sex is dangerous, sex is shameful, and something to be afraid of and to have guilt over. Really, what a crappy lesson to receive in your early childhood about what sex is. And being sort of the rebel that I was, it did not align with this deep sense of who and what my body was all about. And because of such this like really very diverse and intense spiritual religious upbringing, I had this thread around spirituality. Like, I'm not buying it, folks. I'm just not buying it that there isn't something that is coherent between sex and God. And so like there was this deep sense around the age of 18 that I just knew there's something more. There's got to be something more. And I'm just not buying that God thinks that sex is gross, if that's the creator of it all. So I sort of separated myself from this Judeo-Christian concept and started to take a look at Eastern spiritual practices. And they had this model. They had a totally different narrative around sex and divinity. And they had these sort of goddesses and gods that sort of represented this other version of transcendent sex. And that was much more appealing to me. So that was my door in to Tantra, was what is the story between God and sex? That was the big question in my mind. I didn't realize when I was starting to investigate this that what I would discover was so much healing. And as I got to resolve a lot of the separation that I grew up with around the negative ideas and constructs of sexuality, especially how I was supposed to perceive that from a gender standpoint. Like you had to be a good girl and virginity and all this other stuff. It didn't resonate with what was awakening inside of myself. So through that doorway I got to resolve the issue between this whole division between sex and God. And then I got to explore what sexual wholeness was really about for my system. And then had a method to remove the imprints of trauma. And that facilitated me really feeling potent and powerful. And then it was an impossible mission I want to say that it was presented as a mission that I had a choice. Do I want to say yes to this or no to this? And everything in my being said, yes, I have to share what I've discovered, this feeling of aliveness, this feeling of wholeness, this feeling of sex positivity. I have to take this to other people, especially people who had experienced trauma and a sort of religious conditioning that made us believe that there was something bad or gross about our bodies.
That's another Mission Impossible that's going to come out with Tom Cruise. Mission Impossible tantric style.
Tantra 101.
So I'd have to say that was the start. Now, 23 years later, so much has expanded and grown since then. It's been so much to discover, so many other realms of sexuality that have gone beyond the tantric arts. Taking a look at like BDSM and kink and these other, accessing other parts of our psyche, some of it unconscious, and seeing where can that really take us in the realms of like deep pleasure, deep psychological understanding, being able to embrace some of these taboos and normalize what it means to really discover our own erotic map for our own body and how individual that is for everyone. And I just think that's so exciting and such a rich place to start to dive into. So it's been fun to see where still Tantra is sort of my roots, but now there's so much more to investigate. And I have to agree with Willow that there's something about being in the podcast world that has exposed us to so many incredible experts in this industry. And it's really, I feel like I'm having the next great sexual awakening in regards to my own path. And nothing could be more inspiring.
So your roots grew a big giant trunk.
Oh my God, they're
And-
deep
And the
big now.
branches
And the
are reaching
branches.
to the light.
I love that.
And the shadow.
And well, let's talk about trunks here, in meaning sexual mastery. We're talking about basically. You've been on the show a few times, and a lot of times we do integrate talking about female pleasure and vulva mastery. And this time we're going to switch it up because we have so many listeners that are penis owners, and we have all sorts of listeners from all over, but mastery for penis owners is something that we get asked about a lot. And so we're excited about this topic to talk to you two masters. I love that too, about this specific topic. So when we're talking about sexual mastery in the realm of dudes, that's what I call men,
Penis owners, AKA dudes.
It's AKA dudes.
I like that. Yeah.
Is this about being a great lover, or can you just dive into that deeper?
Sure. Mastery is kind of a buzzword, right? So I think really it's about having skills that are deeply embodied. And Tantra is really considered an art form. It's something that you practice. None of us are born being great lovers. We have a biological instinct to fuck. And so we figure out how to do that. We don't need a manual for it. But this is why the sex space is becoming so popular in various different media forms, especially in podcasting, because people do want to be great lovers. They want to feel confident. They want to know how to get their partner off, and they want to capitalize on their own get off. And so if we take this beyond just our biology, anyone can figure out how to fuck and go, how do I take this and elevate it? How can I really expand my own pleasure threshold? And when you hear about things like these multiple orgasms that go on and on and on and on and on, who wouldn't want to taste that? That's a yummy morsel, but it's also a skill set. And so two things have to happen in order for you to be a master lover. One is you have to be curious enough to look outside of yourself and gain wisdom and information from people who've been studying it. Then you have to practice skill sets that will make you good at techniques. But probably the most important is learning how to be, not learning what to do, but it's also learning how to be. And what that means is cultivating presence.
Yeah.
Learning how to really be there and be there for the moment. And so when you have practiced enough techniques that they become embodied knowledge, which means you practice it so much that it ends up being who you are and what you do. It's not something you have to think about. In the beginning, you have to think about it to get good at it. But then it becomes a way that you are and a way that you show up in how you have sex.
Yeah, exactly. There's a thing that happens when you're in a tantric union or a tantric practice where you kind of start out and you're doing the breath work, you're doing the holds and the squeezes and the running the energy through your meridian systems, and you're doing it all. And then after a while, it's doing you, and you are just at the mercy of the energetic flow of high arousal and high waves of frequency that are flowing through your body. And yes, it does make you a better lover because best lovers have phenomenal presence. And so that is a huge, huge component of these ancient sexual practices for penis owners that can help them have multiple orgasms. But there's another layer to it as well, which is it can bring so much more vitality and energy and health to your body, balance to your hormones, balance to your brain. It can open states of consciousness so that all of a sudden your intuition is at a new level. So there's all kinds of benefits to practicing these techniques and these skills so that they, as Leah was saying, they become embodied and you become them. You do them naturally without thinking about them.
Hey, Chip, you know what's made my life way more exciting lately?
I don't, but I'd like to know more.
Masterclass. I've learned everything from how to boost my relational intelligence with our favorite instructor ever, Esther Perel, to mastering my inner DJ with my other favorite in the music world, Questlove. Yes. Honestly, I love how you can learn from the best of the best. It's like having a personal mentor right in your pocket, but way more fun.
Totally, Chip. I've integrated masterclass into my mornings, listening to a lesson on the way to the podcast studio, to yoga, or even during my evening dog walks. It's made me feel more confident and inspired every day. And here's the thing, 88% of members agree. They say it's made a positive impact on their lives.
I'm one of them. Instead of doom scrolling, everyone, why not stretch your brain, grow your brain, and get a membership? Whether you want to deepen your relationships, learn how to play the guitar, shoot some hoops with Steph Curry, or just something new, learn something new, you got to check out Masterclass.
And see for yourself, y'all, why so many members say it's the best money they've spent in a long time. And right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/shameless. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/shameless and start learning today.
Well, the membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, Amy. So what are you waiting for? Masterclass.com/shameless.
So what do you think for the dudes, the penis owners, what are some of the most common challenges they face in sexuality, meaning like prevents them from feeling like they're their best lover self, right? What is preventing them from being their most free, attuned sexual selves?
I would say one of the most common things that keeps them from being attuned and present is they're performing. You know, we've all learned like sex should look like this, it should sound like this, and it should feel this way. And if it doesn't, you're doing it wrong. So there's a lot of all owners of all genitals, like they all go through performance moments of anxiety. And so once we can kind of push that off the table and get rid of that and actually learn how to be attuned and be in a present state, then you start to get into, you know, the subtle sensations that you may have never felt before. And those subtle sensations are little elixirs of life force energy, you know, like you can drink them into places in your body, your brain, and you can start to have full body orgasms. That's one of the things that we teach a lot is how to, you know, for a man who's maybe working on having non-ejaculatory orgasms, like that is going to feel different than an ejaculatory orgasm. Similar for a woman, like a clitoral orgasm is going to feel very, very different than a deep cervical orgasm. So if we're looking for the same sensation and the same feeling of an ejaculatory orgasm, when we're trying to have a non-ejaculatory orgasm, we're looking in the wrong room. Like we got to get out of that room, get into another room. And what we want to start to experience as penis owners is our whole body feeling like our cock, right? We've got this meridian or this pathway of energy that runs from the perineum up to the crown. It's called the Sushumna Nadi. And so the Sushumna channel, you want that to be your cock. You want that whole energy pathway to fill up with arousal, to fill up with life force, and to actually get really full of yourself. You know, we grow up in this society like, don't be full of yourself. That's a bad thing. But it's actually so beautiful to witness people fill up with their essence, because sexual energy is synonymous to essence when we're looking at it from a Taoist perspective. And so when somebody is full of their essence, my God, they're so fun to be around. They bring so much to the table. Like, it doesn't mean that they're dominating or taking up all the space necessarily. They're just bringing their fullness to life. And that's when life starts to respond to penis owners. Oh, you're going to bring your best game, your fullness, your full essence. Cool. I'm going to show you what I got for you. So it's really fun to see men transform their whole lives through their sexuality.
Can you just real quick explain the difference between Taoist and tantric approaches to sexuality for our listeners?
Yeah, that's a good distinction. So they're very, very similar. There's a lot of crossover. We always kind of think about the Taoist practices as, yeah, they make you better lover, you have better sex, better orgasms, but they're also really for health, for vitality, for longevity. So there's a lot of more intricate and kind of nuanced ways to run arousal energy and sexual energy to glands and to organ systems and to different places in your body so that you can can start to experience what the Tao calls superior orgasms. So if you were going to have a heartgasm, that would be a superior orgasm. If you were going to have an adrenal gasm, that's a superior, or a pineal gland gasm, superior orgasm. So they say the most superior of all the orgasms that you can have is the womb gasm, by the way. So I believe we all have wombs because we all came from a womb. So energetically, no matter what gender we are, we can experience that. Again, these are subtle things that over time, you start to get more and more nuanced in your practice. And then tantric practice, Leah, do you want to explain that one?
Sure. I would say that, the Tao is really about vitality and longevity and really circulating health throughout the system so that you can live longer and have a really full, rich life connected to nature. Tantra takes that same sexual energy that Taoism cultivates, and it uses it to help heal the emotional body, and then use that freed up emotional cleansing purification process to fuel your enlightenment. So it's a way to have these big, crazy, long, in all of these pop culture areas that you see Tantra pop up. It's all about how big and long your orgasms can be, but it's actually so much more than that. It's really about lighting up your system from the inside and being turned on, living a turned on life. And that doesn't mean you're just walking around being crazy, horny and being a goober. It's really just about you living a super aligned, pleasure-filled life, knowing that also increases your longevity and helps with your immune system and all these other healthy filled things, but it's more emotional. It's diving into the emotional centers in your system and cleansing them from the stress and the chaos and the trauma that life gives us, helping us to feel more happy, whole, and healed. And then that takes us to bliss and having transcendent experiences that are filled with awe.
And you don't have to be some sort of yogi, om shanti, woo-woo human to achieve this greatness in this sexual mastery realm, right? Whether you are into Tantra or not, because that's something that people get scared when you talk about Taoism or Tantra. They're like, I'm not, a hippie in California that's like in a meditation temple every week, but that's okay. I try to tell my brother living in Texas, and I'm like, bro, you can do it too. Okay.
Yeah.
Plus it's an ego trap if you go down that lane anyway.
It can be for sure.
Really
If you have breath in your body, you can do any of these practices.
I love that. That's perfect. So anybody breathing, okay? Sorry for those corpses out there. Let's talk about, now this is a broad question, but I think it's important in terms of, because these are ancient practices that you all are attuning us to right now, that Willow had taught me about having a kidney orgasm when she was on the show. I was like, I swear to everyone out there, it happened to me after.
Really?
I swear to you. I'm like, I didn't really realize it, but attuning to it. So this stuff is, in my opinion, it is real. Like, it is real. And even if you're not a master, we're all becoming masters slowly. Every master is always learning, right? Even if you are a master. So that being said, the ancient beliefs in men's sexuality, and there's obviously Eastern and Western, however, whatever you want to focus on, can we talk about some of the ancient beliefs? We talked about what sex should be a little bit. Willow had mentioned that, and I think Leah touched on it as well. So when we talk about that, how did those ancient beliefs apply to our modern world?
One of the things that's been so remarkable about my work as a private practitioner working with individuals or couples one-on-one is seeing those that feel like they suffer from premature ejaculation, which we would really talk about as having more ejaculatory choice, because premature ejaculation, its definition is really personal. And if you feel like you're coming too soon, and it's disrupting your ability to be in the present moment, it's disrupting your partner's ability to feel sexually satisfied, that creates a lot of pain. And you find yourself isolating, you find yourself avoiding intimacy, you find yourself ghosting people if you're dating. As soon as it gets too hot and heavy, you start to avoid relationships, you bail. Or you're in maybe even a long-term marriage and you find yourself avoiding sex in your relationship because you feel like a failure over and over and over again. And to watch how I can work with someone for 75 minutes and they can discover that they can maintain an erection and experience arousal, and being able to control their impulse of when they ejaculate, to be able to hold on to that for 45 minutes when they're used to ejaculating under 2 minutes is a fucking miracle. And here's what these ancient mystery school discovered is if you press here and you breathe like this, or you tap the top of your head, or you scratch your heart and you bring your energy up instead of feeling the intensity of it having to squirt out, you can reverse the polarity of the actual arousal current, then everything changes. And you start to realize, oh my God, this thing that has felt impossible, that has been so discouraging, has been crippling in its embarrassment, and you feel like a failure. Suddenly you realize, holy shit, I can conquer this. And then they do. But it takes practice and consistency to be able to wrestle your mind and your body to make the choice to slow everything down. And this is one of the things that's really cool about slowing things down. And this is the power of slow sex, because we are being so conditioned right now in our culture for quick dopamine hits. How can I change the state? And so we're reaching and we're grasping and we're seeing it everywhere. When you can do something like be in your sexuality with intention, slow everything down, you can start to change your brain so that those big, fast dopamine hits, you can correct it so that you're enjoying a slower, more intentional experience. It's like, I think it's one of the keys to starting to shift some of our addictive habits when it comes to dopamine, and sex is a big dopamine piece.
Yeah. You're really changing the neural pathways that run from your brain to your heart, to your gut, to your genitals. It's really, really cool to actually be there witnessing someone's neural pathways. Like you can actually see their neural pathways changing. Wow, I do have control. I do have ejaculatory choice. This is amazing. Not to mention, guys, penis owners, dudes out there, like when you do start to have these neural pathways shift in your body and you start to step into your own level of mastery, you get to satisfy your vulva owner partner, if that's the kind of partner you're with, in new and incredible ways. Like there are kinds of orgasms that vulva owners can only have when a man can go slow enough, even to the point of stillness, and maintain and hold his erection, cervical orgasm specifically. So it's really about increasing your capacity to hold and experience pleasure at heightened levels. We talk about the arousal scale a lot, 0 being like, I'm not really aroused. 1 being like, that feels nice, relaxing, but nice, and then 10 being like, oh my God, I'm coming right now. I gotta come. And so a lot of penis owners will jump from maybe a 6 or a 7, maybe an 8 to a 10, right? So they're missing those upper range numbers. And in what we teach in our practice with clients and with students is we're teaching them how to stretch out that 8 to 8.5, 8.75, and to stretch out their 9 and to hang out at a 9. How long can you hang out at 9.75 before you get to the 10? And it's just phenomenal to witness people experiencing this in their bodies for the first time, because they get to find out something about themselves that they never knew before. They get to experience something that is felt like a dream before. So it's making dreams come true, baby.
You're dream makers.
Yeah. I would actually even take that a little bit lower and go, so many people haven't even discovered how potent and exciting it feels to be at a 3.3. To know what a 4.1 is. Like the goal isn't even 8 and 9, although that's where all the like transcendent profundity often occurs. It's who are you at a 4.1? Because every number on the arousal scale has a 1 through 10. So when you start to really study your pleasure, I think you can really find a lot of self-realization through studying your pleasure and really, slowing things down. One of the things that's really cool is when you separate the roles of giver and receiver. So everyone, like when I'm a giver, that's my job. I'm not worried about receiving. I'm concentrating on how much love can I pour out of my system? How can I take this person on a ride? I want to take them on a journey. It's not just about going up and then coming down. It's about let's go on a ride together. And when you're the receiver, it's how much sensation can I allow myself to feel? How much love can I allow myself to absorb? What's really happening inside of me? Because sometimes you realize, I was working with someone the other day, and their left thigh, the left side of their penis, their left testicle has all of this really nervy energy. Like it's kind of intense, and it's what makes their ejaculation sort of trigger happy. So they tend to concentrate on the right side of their penis and the right thigh and the right testicle to avoid feeling that sensation. So you have a system that's out of balance. And so how do you start to move that irritating, knee-jerk reaction, nerve-laden in a yucky way, feeling on the left side of the body, helping someone so they can just concentrate what's happening inside of me? How do I feel about what's happening? And can I take a breath of that and make the sound of that and move that excess current out of that part of the system so that my cock can come into balance?
Is that the same for left-handed and right-handed people? For real, though, I wonder.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, the left side tends to have the more feminine energy. The right
Right.
side tends to be dominant in its energetic essence. And so it could be there's mother wounds, or could be there. And so we're tracking, at 20, when did he start feeling these weird nerve feelings?
Mhm.
And it's what's been causing his lack of ejaculatory control. Previously, coming of age at 12 sexually, it wasn't until 20 that this weird nerve feeling started occurring in the left side of his system.
Mhm.
And the story doesn't really freaking matter, but
Mhm.
there is something that happened at 20, major breakup, lots of self-doubt, tons of porn. All of these things started to occur at that age. And so what's cool about taking a look at what's happening to us sexually from a therapeutic standpoint is you can start to unpack what feels like a dysfunction and create a correction so that you can go back to feeling like, I'm free. I feel liberated with how I'm sexual instead of feeling like I feel trapped.
And you can also see the ways that the body, which, if people aren't familiar with this, the body keeps the score, right? The body actually holds trauma, and even in areas that maybe they didn't have the trauma, right? The body is quite brilliant. So what you're speaking to, like, who knows if something happened on the left side of the body, but that part of the body is holding whatever the emotional or traumatic response to it. I mean, you already kind of spoke to this a little bit, but let's bring this to the practices then. So in this case, this scenario, I'm curious what the practices were for this person to bring everything into balance, or for other penis owners, men, dudes. What are some of the practices? And I'm sure you have plenty of them. This is why people should listen to your podcast and work with you directly to get all of them. But what are some other practices that men can utilize to tap into, to take their sexual mastery to the next level? And can all penis owners do it?
Wait, didn't Leah say you just have to rub your tummy and pat your head at the same time?
She said
That's
scratching your chest
hyperventilate.
over your heart. I was like,
I know. I'm like, Liz,
what are you talking about?
Jump on one leg and then bark like a dog.
Yeah.
I hope
That's
so.
just
That
for
would be so fun.
entertainment.
Yeah.
Fact. Most pussy owners need some sort of clitoral stimulation to orgasm, and many are not having orgasms from penetrative sex.
Say what?
I know, right? This is one of the many reasons why we are obsessed with OMG Yes. Not only has it changed our lives in the orgasm department, but I've been recommending OMG Yes to my clients for years, and it's completely changed their sex lives as well. OMG Yes features scientific research of real vulva owners, aka women, showing techniques to pleasure the pussy. They turn the research into tasteful, educational short videos, animated modules, and infographics for easy visual learning.
They call it OMG Yes for a reason, because OMG Yes is for anyone who wants to learn about pussy pleasure or take it to the next level. Whether you're a beginner or someone who wants to take your orgasms from good to mind-blowing, then you need to check out OMG Yes. They have 3 seasons: external pleasure, internal pleasure, and sex toys. It's not a subscription service, y'all, so you don't need to download a single thing. And it's great for partners who want to pleasure that pussy too. And for listeners of our show, OMGS is offering 10% off when you go to omgyes.com/shameless. Again, that's omgyes.com/shameless to receive 10% off unlimited access towards enhancing your pleasure power forever. Newsflash, everybody. We are picky about our lubes.
Can we say uber picky?
Yes, we can. And let me tell you all why Uber Lube is our absolute favorite lube ever. Uber Lube is a luxurious silicone lubricant that I want all over my body. Yes, it's designed for sex because it enhances intimacy while allowing you to still feel the skin-on-skin contact, but it feels so good that I want it everywhere. Uber Lube is long-lasting, leaves your skin feeling velvety smooth, and it's there when you want it, but then it dissipates when you're done.
Yes. Aside from using Uberlube for all of my sexy sessions, and I use it all the time, I also use it for massages, for my hair frizzies, to prevent chafing, and it brings out the color of your beautiful tattoos. Thousands of doctors and therapists in the US alone are recommending Uberlube to their patients because it's body-friendly, less likely to change the pH, and has vitamin E, so it feels moisturizing on the skin. Uberlube has no flavor or scent, which means it's also great for oral sex. And it comes in a beautiful glass bottle with a pump top, which means easy access to Pleasure Town.
Want to see why we think Uberlube is the best lube in the world? Then go to uberlube.com and use discount code SHAMELESS to get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com right now with code SHAMELESS for 10% off and free shipping.
Well, I have to say that although I know chakra is a big woo-woo word, for years I tried to rename the chakras and just call them genius zones or extensions of the brain, because as soon as people hear the word chakra, they kind of glaze over. So I'm going to ask those of you who are gag me with a spoon when you hear something like the word chakra, just suspend that judgment for just a minute. Because really what the chakras are is they're just where we store certain experiences in our life, whether they're beautiful experiences or a crisis, right? So our job is in order to create more circuitry in the body so that you can run more pleasure and have bigger pleasure than ever before, there's kind of a cleanup of the system where these electromagnetic fields. And so I want the people that I work with to feel like they're fully embodied, which means their whole circuitry system is communicating to itself in a really beautiful way. So your cock is communicating to your heart, and your cock is communicating to your power sensor, which would be the navel, and your cock is connected to your consciousness in your third eye. And your cock is connected to how you express yourself in your throat. And your cock is connected to your foundation, which is the roots, the bottom of the building of your system, which is going to be the anal cavity, which is where your prostate gland is and all this other juicy stuff. And so in order for us to get aligned with how your system is operating at full capacity as a sexually evolved, juicy, yummy, potent person, I want to make sure that your system is fully connected to itself. So I might start with connecting your heart to your cock. And I'm going to teach you how to do that with touch so that you can run a stronger current so that when you are really in your heart, you're fully passionate. And why are you passionate in your heart? Because it's connected to your cock. And when you are fucking, your cock is connected to your heart because you want that juice. You want that juicy heart energy and how it might affect you or somebody else. So that's just one circuit that I want to get aligned. So I'm going to take a look at someone's overall story, right? So for this individual, he had this imprint at 20 years old. Let's get some of the data. Now, how did that imprint, the crisis that he was undergoing at 20, how did that land in his body? How did that land in his soma? And the chakras are a big map for me on how I help him organize that. And so I can see, how did that disrupt your power? How did that disrupt how you felt about yourself and your own personal identity? So I'm going to go to where those things get stored in the body, and I'm going to either put my hands on that part of their body, or I'm going to ask them to put their hands on that part of their body so that they can clean up the residue of the stuff that they haven't allowed themselves to finish feeling because that crisis took something over in them, but it's still stored in the soma. It's still stored in the body. So we want to give people effective tools to do their own sort of sexual healing and therefore clean out, purify so that they can have their biggest sexual awakening. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the lower chakras, the first and the second chakra, we often refer to them as the basement, which is where you throw stuff that you don't want to look at or deal with anymore. So there is a lot of old limiting beliefs, stuff from your parents, stuff from your church, stuff from your upbringing, stuff from society, stuff from pornography, traumas that you've been through, things people said to you, all of that gets thrown down in the first and second chakras. So when we start to connect those lower chakras to, maybe places in your body that you're more connected to, like love in the heart or expression in the throat, then that circuitry that we're creating with our own hands is starting to bring some of the connected part of your body into the disconnected part of your body. So what ends up happening in the end is just a more fully connected and present soul.
That's deep. The head bone's connected to the cock bone. I kept thinking about that when Leah I was like, wow, that's a great song to maybe initiate this. If you're feeling like any feelings about how can my cock be connected to my throat? It's amazing to think about.
It's not throat fucking. That's not the way. That's what I've been
Well,
doing.
they go in the same category.
I do love mouth fucking.
Oh, I love this. And I think let's talk about results, because you all have worked with a lot of folks out there, a lot of dudes with penises. And this was a great example that Leah brought up. And I love also what Willow had shared. So let's talk about some of the results that you've experienced with the people that you work with. And also, how will these practices show up in sexuality for the better?
So, every single person is such a unique journey. They're on such a unique and special individual, path of their own to coming into their sexual expression. But I would say, a theme that I've seen with the penis owners that I've worked with is just that they have a greater sense. I've said this already, but I'll say it again. They have a greater sense of themselves. They have a greater sense of their own essence. It is not uncommon for Leah and I both to have men just have their hearts open and the tears start flowing from their eyes. And then when they get up and they walk away, it's like they feel younger, they look younger, they have more vitality and energy. Many of my male clients will choose not to have an ejaculatory orgasm during the session because they actually want to walk away with that sense of fullness and, aliveness in their bodies. Whereas others are like, yeah, I want to have that release. And so all is well, all is good. But some people are coming in with a goal to like, I don't have good control and I want to have better control. And others are like, well, I want to experience a non-ejaculatory orgasm, or, I want to know what these superior orgasms are all about. I want to experience some particular thing. So we kind of, drive the session for whatever that person is looking for. And sexual release for men is so commonly just to get some energy out, to get some stress out, to get some built up stagnation in their body out, and when they're teenagers, they're doing it like 4 or 5 times a day, right? And then they get in their 20s and 30s and they might still be going 4 or 5 times a day. And then they get into their 40s and they're like, boy, I'm depleted if I'm doing it that much, So there is a whole sort of only have ejaculations only this many times, depending on your age, according to the Taoists, which we won't go into. But I think that, it's so powerful to just let each individual have their own experience and journey. And they might come in with a goal, but they might experience something totally different. And that's, again, the value of just being present to what is.
I would say too, the top 3 things people come to me for is wanting to access ejaculatory control, wanting to feel like they're in control of their body isn't in control of them. 2, the erectile dysfunction, feeling like they want to be able to they miss their harder erections and they want some support and being able to have a firmer erection. One of the big things that they don't expect that they're going to get from working on that particular issue is, can you find pleasure with your soft on? Because there are some orgasms that you can only give a vulva owner with a soft cock.
Okay. Oh.
And so what's it like to learn how to make love when you're soft? Can you still be a lover even though you're not hard? And so that is giving them a different perspective on how to perceive who they are as a sexual being, when the only thing they've been able to identify with is, if I have a purple burster, then I'm a man with a capital M.
Purple burster. I love that.
And if I don't, then what am I? Well, guess what? You're soft 98% of the day, or 99% of the day. Are you not a man with a capital M then? And so it's helping them recognize that their penis is not the deciding factor on how they relate to who they are as a sexual being. And so that's a big perspective shift. And when they can start to realize that you are a lover beyond the tip of your penis. So how you love with your heart, how you love with your words, how you love with your eyes, how you love with your hands and your fingers, and all these other ways that you can make love, then you now have expanded your capacity to show up and stay in presence, because you're not in this performance anxiety place that's taking you out of being a lover. So it's learning, how can I fully be a lover lover with all of me and not just a single part of me. That tends to be a big aha that they walk away with. And then the other big issue is, how can I be a better lover? Like, how can I give my partner pleasure? Because who doesn't want to feel confident when you're in the bedroom? I mean, it sucks to feel insecure about your performance, whether you're giving or receiving. So those are the 3 big transformation points.
Totally. Yeah. And so the last one you're speaking to is more like you said, learn from people that know about these things and then practice. And you spoke to kind of the partner experience there. So I want to bring it to the partner experience. So what if you're a partner that's wanting more? Like, so say I love my cock owning partner, but I'm wanting more, maybe I'm wanting more extended sexual sessions. Maybe I'm wanting more like full discovery of my body or their body as opposed to just being genitals, right? But I'm afraid to communicate this. So bringing this more to the communication piece. What is your top recommendations or tips for how we can communicate to our partner? I'd like to explore more with you, or also like have you explore more, but also like as a part of the we and us experience.
Such a good question. I think using the positive sandwich is a good rule of thumb.
April calls it a shit sandwich.
Oh, okay. Because the shit is in the middle, right? Okay, I like that.
You don't say
totally
you have a
different
bread
spin.
sandwich. You say you have a ham sandwich. So wouldn't it be a shit sandwich?
Yeah, because the shit's in the middle.
Right.
Yeah,
good shit though. It's good.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
It's whatever shit we put in there. But yeah, basically, even while you're in the moment with a partner and they're touching you in a certain way and you're like, God, that's irritating. I really don't like what they're doing. Or they're going down and you're like, God, they're really not doing it for me. You would want to be like, oh my gosh, I so love that you want to give to me in such an amazing, passionate, hot, sexy way. And I would love to be able to feel what you're doing even more. So if you could just slow down about half the speed that you're going now, and then slow down 10 times more, I could actually really feel what you're doing. And then I think what might happen is I could totally explode in your mouth, so that would be a positive. I'm sticking with positive sandwich,
I'm a yes
April.
to what you said. So
Either way.
on my brain.
Compliment sandwich, positive sandwich. Yes, I like that. Okay, so tips. So the positive sandwich, shit sandwich in April's world. Anything else?
Yeah, I think some of this has to do with first really connecting to yourself and feeling in your own system before you can just guess maybe what you think you want. I think one of the hardest things that a lot of us are facing is we know more about what we don't want than what we do want. And when all we focus on is what we don't want, it lands as criticism for our partner where they feel like, I can't do anything right. Because we don't know, we haven't had enough practice really expressing the things that we love, expressing the things that do turn us on, expressing the things that do open us. And so we really need to be with, what do I want? What do I desire? What feels good to me? And what feels good to me right now? So maybe what would feel good to me is for you just to hold my hand and put some pressure in the center of my palm and just be still with me. And just like, can we just be present for like 3 seconds without talking? So navigating like, I don't really want you to touch my tits right now, but maybe you could just hold my feet and like keep my feet warm. And then you really deeply feel how good it feels to have somebody warm up your feet, especially if you're like me and your toes are always cold. So it's like really finding first, like what opens me, and then being able to communicate from that place. Yeah, that feels really good. I really love that. Thank you for being so present with me in this. And also like going on a solo practice. One of the things Willow and I are doing is we're taking a group of women to Greece in October and helping them start to identify their own ecstasy map. Like what opens me? Because I just remember for so many years, partners would say like, oh, what's your fantasy? Or like, hey, what turns you on?
What do you like?
What do you like? I never had an answer. I just said, try something. I'll tell you if I'll like it.
Yeah,
that is such a cop-out.
Yes.
Right? Like, and someone once gave me a really great answer a few years ago. They said a better answer is, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out.
I don't know, ... yet.
Yeah. And so
ellipse makes it all better.
And we don't, especially when it comes to vulva owner sexuality, we haven't been given enough permission to really find out what our desires are. We haven't normalized that as much as we've normalized it for penis owners. And so like, this is an invitation for vulva owners to go, let me find out, let me get the answer to that question. Because when you have discovered your own map, oh my God, you're the most powerful partner, because then you get to help everyone who has the privilege to touch your body win with you. And I can't think of anything more potent or more powerful as a sexual being than finding out what does turn me on. And I have to tell you guys, if someone had told me this and said, now go masturbate and figure it out, I would have been lost. It's not enough that you go self-pleasure. Like, I didn't know which vibrators to try. And the ones that I tried, I didn't really get, and they didn't really work. And I felt so fucking lost. I needed a tutor. I need a confidant. I need someone that I could trust to have these awkward, cringeworthy conversations when I didn't know even how to talk about the parts of my pussy or even say the word pussy. I mean, so many of us feel so stuck even in our language that we don't even know the first step in telling someone what the fuck we like. And this is where, like, it's so exciting to have so many people invested in the sexuality world and in the positivity world of sexuality to go, let's go find out. Like this, I know it seems hard right now, but it gets so much easier. And so, yeah.
I always think about sexuality as our playground. You know, it's like, this is my sandbox. And in the sandbox today, I want to have this pail and this shovel and this bucket of water, and I'm going to see what I'm going to create. And so that's really what we're doing, is we're creating a little playground for ourselves. Our bodies fit together in unique and unusual ways. I don't care what your gender is. You've got yonis all over your body, AKA acupuncture points. I mean, there are places of deep sensitivity that when you bite and nibble and suck and kiss those places on your body, just waves of arousal and pleasure and stimulation flow through your entire body. And as we know, your listeners, I'm sure, have heard this a million times, the most important sexual organ in your body is right between your ears. And so stimulating the brain, stimulating the brain with psychological kink, like getting into like nerdy. Did I just say nerdy? I meant to say dirty.
Yeah,
nerdy is dirty. It can be dirty.
Nerdy is dirty.
Hot.
So I dig it. Yeah.
Nerds are hot. Just saying.
You know who's such a nerd? We just saw him at the Bliss Boogie Festival is Reed Mahalko.
He's
and
such a nerd.
He's
well, he's the one that coined Sex Geek, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, his nerdiness makes him even hotter. So
yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just, doing things that are taboo for you, that are dirty for you. I remember at one point somebody saying something about like, oh yeah, that couple, for them, what was taboo was for her to be on top. So great. That turned on those centers in the brain that was like, yeah, this is really sexual. This is really naughty. This is really dirty. And for somebody else, that would be like old hat, So it's, again, where are you at on your journey? Can you be present to that? Can you be attuned to that? Stop trying to be somebody else in sexuality.
I like that. And this is a loaded question because we don't should people. However, when we're talking about partnership, and here we're talking about sexual mastery for penis owners, and of course we've talked about vulva owners. However, in partnership, a lot of times the scales could be tipped in one direction or the other, where maybe the partner wants more, or from the penis owner, or the penis owner wants more mastery from the vulva owner, or we're talking about heterosexual couples here. So in terms of should it be a two-way street, I'd love for you to answer that if I'm not shoulding. And then what if the other partner, like you're feeling a certain way that you're not getting mastered by your partner enough, or if I'm just going to put it that way, is it something that you can initiate with them? We talked about the conversation piece. You can bring it up with the shit sandwich or positive sandwich. So if gently, is it like, here's your work, here's mine, and then the vulva owner can go off and figure that out? Or is there stuff they can do together, working with folks like you, going to Greece, hello, take me.
Yeah.
So can you share your thoughts on what this looks like?
It's
You
not
guys should
an
come
either
with us to
or.
Greece, by the
I'd
way.
love
It'd be
to.
so fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. It's not an either or. It's an and I think that this is really what makes partnership so beautiful is it gets to really be personal to each individual and what they're up for. First thing that comes to mind when you were saying that is DS dynamics, right? Like there are people who have certain dynamics where there's a partner that loves being in control and likes taking the responsibility for the movement of the arousal in each person's system. And they don't need their partner to do all of the skill creating work, right? And so that's perfect. Good. You guys do you. But I think just as human beings, there's a lot of value in pursuing what is it that's going to make your life really sexually rich and fulfilling to you. That's an answer that can really only come from the inside. It's an inside job. Someone could really help illuminate the options and the ideas. They may know you so well that they may be able to, show you parts of that for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's a real individual quest to go, what opens me? And I hope this episode is inspiring that if you haven't asked yourself that question, you begin to, because it will take you down a really rich path and you'll have such an ecstatic journey of discovery. And fuck it, you deserve it. Life is hard. Look at all the shit we go through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the discovering what pleasure means to you is a way to counterbalance all the stuff we go through as human beings that looks tiresome. It really renews the weary soul. That's the beauty of pleasure as medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, this is all so inspirational in so many ways, even though I'm not a dude with a penis. But I mean, what you're speaking to applies, a lot of what you're speaking to applies to anyone and everyone, regardless of your gender, your genitals, your orientation, the people you're having sex with. And so I think there's like so many golden nuggets here. And so you already talked about Greece a little bit. We talked about your podcast, but can you elaborate more about the work that you do and how people can work with you, how they can go to Greece, how they can listen to your podcast, how they can work with you one-on-one or with their partners? Can you share more about all these pieces? And also, how can they do that? How do they find you? How do they stalk you?
Yeah, so you can go to sexreimagined.com, or you can go to Leah's website, which is moreloveworks.com, or you can go to drwillowbrown.com to find all the options, all the different ways that you can work with us. We work with people all over the world. We do online coaching. We help couples have better sex. We help individuals find their sexual mastery. And we have retreats and workshops, and the podcast, it's just like, tune in. If you want to just like learn more, just tune into the podcast. And our podcast is educational a lot of the time. So there's a lot of free, great education on there, like how-tos with all of these things that we've been talking about.
Congratulations on 3 years of podcasting. You
Thanks,
two.
ladies.
Yeah. We remember when you were birthing it. Yeah, we were like, yeah, go get it. And it's amazing to watch you two really conquer the world and really bring your messaging, which is a beautiful, it's very aligned, your messaging, but you're also both skilled in so many different ways, right? You have a wide array of knowledge and a lot of respect for both of you. So thank you for being here with us, Leah in person and Willow in digital land. And Amy, I can see your head from here, but you're at a different room.
I'm waving at you from the other
I know.
building.
Oh, I can see. So thank you. And everybody, your cock bone's connected to your hand bones.
Bone.
So motherfucking give us a review, follow and like all of what Sex Reimagined does. Give them a review. 5 stars are preferred. If you have less than that, we don't really need your review. You can send it to some other. Aubrey Marcus probably needs some. Maybe a little bit of Joe Rogan in there. That's just for you and for my own comedy. It keeps me happy just making funny jokes.
It makes me happy when you say that too. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. Save it for Twitter. It doesn't exist anymore. So since your cock bone's connected to your hand bone, we got that out of the way. Okay. Amy and I will have some awesome new content coming out in our premium subscription. It's like $5 a month. So if you love us, show us your love. Just go to Shameless Sex and you can get your all access pass to what happens. Amy and I name names. We get real down and dirty. Yeah, and it only takes $5 to know. We don't get down and dirty like on video. Don't worry, okay?
Not yet.
I'm running for president someday, so I got to keep it low key with that. All right, y'all. We love you so much. Remember that we also do retreats. We might be at a retreat in Greece now with Sex Reimagined.
I know you
folks.
guys have a retreat coming up in Palm Springs, right?
We do.
In September.
Yeah, keep it local.
That's all genders, been it's men, women, all the humans.
Mostly couples. We do work well with couples. We're saving marriages.
But I'm here with what y'all are creating is, it just sounds like, I'm going to talk to April and see how we can go because I think
it's a pilgrimage.
It sounds amazing.
It's a pilgrimage to the primordial.
I
Crete and
Goddesses should all go.
Santorini.
Yes.
Oh
my God.
All right. You had me at Greece.
Go.
All right. I just love Mediterranean food. I'm going to go on and on. And we have to end the episode not on my rants. So we love each and every one of you. And we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Shameless Sex. Ciao for now.
Love, love, love.
Wave your hands with your cock bone.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.